Thank you for joining Wars of the Rosies. And in this video, we're going to be discussing the covenant with Noah, the Tower of Babel, and also Enoch, Abraham, and Melchizedek. Taken from the Student's Monthly Letter by Manly P. Hall, July 1937, The Secret Doctrine in the Bible. The Covenant. The 9th chapter of Genesis describes the covenant between Noah and the Elohim. The symbolism of the rainbow is extremely obscure. In Genesis 9:13, the Elohim Jehovah says, I do set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be for a token of a covenant between me and the earth. Among ancient peoples, the rainbow was regarded as a bridge connecting heaven and earth. In the Nordic mythology, this is Bifrost. Up this bridge of light, the Aziz climbed to the royal palace of Asgard. The 7 colors distinguishable in the rainbow were sacred to the creating gods, and from the earliest time the priestcrafts distinguished their ranks and offices by the color of their garments. Even in the Christian church, certain colors are associated with the saints and the persons of the Godhead. The Gnostics related color and sound, assigning one of the chromatic tones to each of the vowels, as the white light of the sun contains within it all the colors of the spectrum. So the divine effulgency, the eternal light of God, though in itself colorless, contains the spectrum of the creating principles or gods which emerge from and become the formators of the worlds. It cannot be supposed that the ancient peoples were entirely conversant with our modern scientific concept of light and art, but they did associate the 7 colors with the planets, the worlds, the invisible heavens, the order of angels, and the aspects of the divine nature. The rainbow is therefore an appropriate symbol of the divine power. In it were visible together the colors of the 7 worlds. The appearance of the rainbow at the end of the deluge appropriately symbolizes the releasing into manifestation the energy of the Logos through its 7 principles, the builders of the cosmos. The re-established universe, according to the Kabbalah, is divided among the sons of Noah, who therefore become symbolic of the creative trinity. To Shem is given the center of the world, or according to the Chaldeans, the center band of constellations, i.e. the zodiac. To Japheth is assigned the northern part of the world and the northern constellation. To Ham the southern extremities of the heaven and the earth, of the parts of the members of the grand man of the Zohar. Shem receives therefore the heart as his throne or domination, and Japheth the brain. To Ham is given the creative system, thus consciousness which is Shem, intelligence which is Japheth, and force which is Ham. They are the creative triad, remanifested after the oblivion. Ham is called the Dark One because he represents the physical world, and the dark earth which is its most appropriate emblem. From Shem, Japheth, and Ham descend the races of humanity, and to this newly established humankind is given the collective term Israel. The word Israel signifies not the Jew in particular, but all humanity, and the evolution of man in the period subsequent to the Atlantean deluge is symbolically described by the wandering of the 12 tribes of Israel. These tribes are the 12 orders of human beings, dominated by the signs of the zodiac. The Tower of Babel. In the ancient Hebrew language, the word which is translated ladder can also mean hill, a mound, or any artificially contrived means of ascent. It is quite possible, therefore, that the Jews used the term ladder to indicate the type of building now called a pyramid. Most early illustrations of the Tower of Babel show it to be a type of building called by the Chaldeans a ziggerat. The ziggurat was an artificial hill with a circular ascending stairway, moving in a spiral around the outside. Of such type of buildings, some ruins still remain, and reconstructions of the Hanging Gardens of Babylon invariably show this type of structure. The Tower of Babel, as described by the Jesuit priest Athanasius Kircher, was undoubtedly an astronomical tower. The building was said to have been erected by the descendants and servants of an ancient hero Nimrod, who was called the Mighty Hunter. This building, built of mud and held together with slime, was the prototype of Jacob's ladder, which led up through the 7 worlds to the sphere of the zodiac. The story of the Tower of Babel has many meanings. 1. It is a form of the world mountain, Asgard, Meryu, Olympus, the Axis mountain of the ancient Egyptians, the symbol of the North Pole. 2. It is the mystery school, or the philosophical ladder, the rungs of which are the degrees of initiation, man climbing upward through the sacred stations of the initiatory rite was declared to be ascending towards the gods. The levels and platforms of the ziggurat were appropriate symbols of the planes of consciousness through which the human soul ascends towards reality. 3. The Tower of Babel is the physical earth itself. The ancient ziggurats nearly always had 7 steps of 6 platforms rising from a foundation. The foundation in this case is physical matter, and the 6 ascending platforms are the superphysical parts of the earth's septenary. 4. The Tower of Babel is man's own sevenfold body, the organism through the perfection of which he becomes as a god, knowing good and evil. 5. The Tower of Babel was physically and actually an astronomical monument. The magician stargazers ascending this tower and examining the stars were said to be communicating with the gods. In the biblical account, Babel is man's moment of pride, and in the end the gods confused the tongues of men, and preventing the completion of the tower, so that the word Babel has come to mean a confusion of tongues. The original word was a form of Babylon. The confusion of tongues is symbolic of the corruption of the ancient mysteries and the intellectual darkness which descended upon ancient man as a punishment for the perverting of the sacred rites. The secrets of esoteric wisdom were lost, and, as in Greek mythology, the gods punished mankind for its presumptions and vanity. The Jewish story of Babel is of the same type as the Greek myth of Prometheus, but it was while studying the stars from the heights of Babel that the Chaldean stargazers discovered the sacred alphabets of constellations, which later reoccur in the account of the handwriting on the wall of heaven at the feast of Belshazzar. The Hebrew alphabet is composed of letters based upon star groups. For the sacred alphabet, the student should consult Gaffarel's unheard of curiosities concerning the talismanic magic of the Persians. Enoch, Abraham, and Melchizedek. Accounts differ greatly as to the exact time which Enoch lived. According to some opinions, he lived before the deluge, and inscribed the wisdom of the prehistoric world upon pillars which survived the destruction of Atlantis. The Greek philosopher Solon, visiting Egypt in the 6th century before Christ, claimed to have seen and examined these pillars in a subterranean temple upon the bank of the Nile. In the Kabbalistic legends, Enoch, the second messenger of God, was one of the messianic gods or perfected men. He did not die but ascended to heaven, walking with God. The most significant part of the story of Enoch is the apocryphal account of the building of the royal arches. With the aid of his son Methuselah, Enoch is said to have created a subterranean temple. This consisted of several rooms, one above the other, each with an arched ceiling. Descending from one room to another in the heart of the earth, Enoch placed in the lowest of the arched chambers a golden triangle with a secret name of God inscribed thereon. After the translation of Enoch, the site of his temple was lost, and for centuries men sought in vain for the secret room. Later, when Solomon resolved to build the everlasting house upon Mount Moriah, his workmen, when digging the foundation, discovered the sealed-up vaults of Enoch. Solomon's temple was therefore built upon the site of the mysterious temple with its 7 arched rooms. In Freemasonry, the symbolism of the royal arches of Enoch is carefully preserved. The whole temple is an astronomical mystery. The 7 rooms, one above the other, represents the orbits of the planets. The golden triangle concealed in the lowest room is man's own triform divinity or threefold ego, the principles of will, wisdom, and action, hidden in the dark substances of the material world. By one interpretation, Enoch is the human spirit itself, the builder of the 7 bodies or arches, for the spiritual part of man is the only part which walks with God and does not know death. Abraham means a Brahmin and seems to refer to an portion of Oriental philosophy to some remote time in the history of the Jews. Abraham comes into the presence of Melchizedek, and at their meeting is the first record of the ceremony of the Eucharist. It is commonly believed that the word Melchizedek means king of righteousness, but this is an orthodox version at the expense of accuracy. Melchizedek actually means held to, or honor to, or power to Sedek. Therefore, the name can be freely translated the authority of Sedek, or Sedek is king. Melchizedek, prince of Salem, really means then Sedek is king of Salem. The word Sedek is Egyptian. Sedek was the father of the artificer gods of Egypt. The 7 planetary gods, called the Kabiri, are the children of Sedek. Melchizedek therefore is the father of the planets, or astronomically the sun. Like Moses, the red-haired man, whose name is also a Kabbalistic title of the sun. Melchizedek is the great orb of heaven, therefore his own father and mother, and the founder of the eternal priesthood. Later Christ is called, the light that lighteth every man that cometh into the world. Christ is therefore a type of spiritual sun, the light bearer, the light bringer, called by St. Paul a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. In other words, a priest of the sun, or of the solar mystery, or of the eternal light. Sincerely yours, Manly P. Hall. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to share, like, subscribe, and comment. And please consider donating to Wars of the Rosies. Links to PayPal and Patreon are in the description. Thank you very much.